Right, hello, welcome to Viscount Leisure. My name's Charles. I'm going to take you on a very quick tutorial video around the van, just to make sure that we know what we're doing, how everything works, and what we need to do when we get to site, etc, etc. First thing, when we get to site, level caravans what we want. Okay, so we want to level the caravan front to back, also left to right as well. To level left to right, if you need to, you'll need to get some leveling wedges to put underneath one of the wheels. Okay, and that will raise or lower one of the side of the caravan to make sure we're left side to side. Then what we will do is move our nose up and down using our jockey wheel just here. Okay, we can wind up and we can wind down to raise or lower the nose. Once we're level, using a spirit level, ideally inside the van, on a flat surface, we can then put down our corner steadies, one on each corner. In the front locker you'll find your winder for this, although you can get a drill attachment for it. Then we're going to wind these down till they're nice and firmly on the floor. We want to level the caravan first before doing that. Don't try and level them on those corner steadies, or you will end up damaging A, the corner steady, B, potentially the bottom of the van as well. Okay, so I need to make sure that we are nice and level, then the colour steadies down on each corner. Right, going around the van, you can see we've got a motor mover, power touch one there on the wheel. That's a manual engage. We'll show you that when you pick the van up, so you know how you're operating that. External power socket here, that's a 240 volt power socket, only usable when we're plugged into our mains with our mains cable that we'll see around the other side. Access underneath one of our bench seats inside there, so we can put things in and out of the van without traipsing them in and out. An external gas barbecue point here as well, so we can, with a bayonet adapter that you will find in your book pack, we can power our gas barbecue outside without having to remove one of our gas bottles. All right, so the tap for that is just there. On that note of gas, you can see I've got my test bottle in here at the moment because I've got the van all run up. So you will need gas to make the van work properly. It will fit 6 kilos, this size that we've got here. When we're travelling, must make sure that our bottles are strapped in like they are now, also turned off at the tap on the top. Okay, when we get to site, we then come in and open that up. That will then allow the gas to come through our gas hose here into our bulkhead regulator situated up here, which will turn it into the working gas pressure for the van. Now, this goes into the side of the bottle here on a hand tight wheel, all right, on an opposite thread. So not lefty loosey righty tighty, we go the other way round. All right, so it's got a rubber seal. All we do is nip that up hand tight, no need for spanners or anything along those lines. Here's the winding handle for our corner steadies that we were just talking about, and also you can see we've got our spare wheel just in there. A quick talk about the hitch head. We will do a hitch up with you when you pick the caravan up. We are running 13 pin electrics into the back of the car, so you need to make sure that you are you have that, or you have the adapter to make that work into your car. We've got an Alco stabilizing hitch head here, so again you need to make sure you've got an Alco compatible tow ball. That's a slightly different spacing to normal tow balls. Still the same size ball, but it is slightly spaced away from the car slightly to incorporate the larger hitch head there. All right. If you've got an existing tow ball, make sure all the grease is off of it. It needs to be bare metal, all right, because of the friction pads inside that keep it stable. We don't want any grease on there. That being said as well, if it's a brand new tow ball, the black paint, if there is any on the top, needs to be sanded off, so we're down to bare metal. For the same reason, makes the hitch head, the stabilising hitch head, inefficient. We want that to be working as best as we can. Right, coming around the other side. This is our boiler flue here for when we've got our boiler running on gas. It gets quite warm, so don't block it, because a bit like our boiler at home, when it's running on gas, it needs to be able to expel the fumes. We obviously want water coming into our van. Here I've got my Aquarol there, so you'll need something similar to that. And then here is our pickup, which goes into the bottom of the barrel. We drop it into the barrel first, then into the side of the van. This is a semi-rigid pipe, so if we try and manipulate it too much, you can end up cracking the housing here. So into there first, and into the side of the van. Make sure that's clipped into place. Then we're ready to start turning our water pump on inside. Okay, and we'll have a look at that when we get in. In terms of power, 2 types of power this van will run off. 12 volt from our battery here. All right, now this battery will stay with the van because we've got a solar panel on the roof. We leave a battery on this one. Can't guarantee that battery, but it's passed all the tests and everything at the moment, so it seems to be working okay. That will power things like our lights, our water pump, fridge panel, X, Y and Z. And then if we don't have mains power, the gas will then fill in to do what the battery can't do. Okay. If we are on our mains plug-in site, we can plug our van in with one of these cables here, so you'll need one of those. That will then provide 240 volt power into our van and will allow us to use domestic plug sockets, run our fridge and heating system, all off of that rather than gas. So you'll need one of those. Okay. If it comes on a reel and it's all in on a reel, make sure it's all flaked out a little bit like I've got it here. You can see we don't want a big circle on the floor because they do draw a lot of current and they can get quite hot like that. So flake it out even if it's underneath the van so it looks more tidy. These are our fridge vents. I've got the fridge on at the moment, so pulls cold air in from the bottom, expels the hot air out from the top. It uses heat in order to cool. So I've got that on. I can feel the nice warm air coming out. That feels nice on the old hands at the moment. Toilets. Okay, separate flush tank because we don't want to put chemicals in our normal water. So we fill this up using a, I don't know, watering can, something similar to that, and we're going to add a chemical to that, either green or pink, depending on what we decide to use. That flush, A, smells nice, B, keeps things lubricated in terms of the pump and all that sort of stuff as well, so we need to fill that up. When it comes to draining it, because we never want to leave water in our van, if we're leaving it for any kind of period of time, we then have a little hose up here that we can pull down, take the stopper off the end, and that will drain our separate flush tank. Obviously, once we've been to the toilet, it's got an indicator in there that will tell us when we have when our cassette's full. So we just remove that from the cassette holder there. Okay, it's on wheels. You can see we've got an extendable handle as well, so we can wheel it to our dedicated chemical disposal point, which there will be on site. All right, we then move this handle over to 90 degrees. Not that easy to do with one hand. And then before we empty it, we press this button down and hold it down. What that does is release the air pressure inside the unit. It makes it easier when we're trying to decant everything out of this. All right, I'd then give it a quick wash out with a hose pipe if there is one there, and again empty that out again, making sure we're getting rid of everything. Please use caravan or toilet paper rather than domestic toilet paper. It does break down so much better and won't clog up your cassette, which can be a bit unpleasant if you do that because you've got to clean it out again. We're then going to reprime our unit here with some toilet chemicals. We're either going to use blue or green in here. Again, on the bottle will tell you how much to put in and how much water to put in with it, depending on which chemical that you are using. But what that chemical does is break everything down in there, makes things smell nicer, and also makes it easier when we are emptying it. Lots of rubber seals around all these lockers. I would suggest having some silicone spray that you keep in the van. That way periodically you can go round and give them a little spray of that. Just keeps them soft and supple and doing everything that they should. Don't forget, on pickup you will need a number plate, obviously depicting the car that you are towing with. That will obviously go there. We can help you fit that. We've got the pre-drillings and for a two-lay or a thule, as some people call it, bike rack. So you need to purchase the bike rack, but it's all the mounts are already in there for that. Okay. Awning light situated just above there. The button for that's inside. We'll have a look at that. Right. Door holds back on a magnet here as well, you can see, so that holds it back in the wind. Right, let's go inside. In terms of locking the door when we're inside, we just lift that up. You can see that pushes the two bolts across. Okay. So when we're locking the door at night, and of course, blackout blinds to all the windows as well, so we can really black everything out in here. Okay, first things first, when we get into the van, what we're going to do is we want to start making sure we're ready to receive water into the van. First thing we're going to do is come and find our taps, and we're going to close them all because you would have left them open last time you left your van, or you should have done. So go close all your taps in here in your bathroom as well, and then go and find your boiler drain valve. Now that's down here, this little yellow switch just there. In the downwards position at the moment, but you should find it, switch my hands around, in the upwards position like that. Okay, come in, flick it down. That way when we start pumping water in, because this is where it all drains from, it will actually pass this rather than just drop straight to ground. Otherwise you'll be fighting a losing battle. And there's your water pump just there. And there's our boiler. Okay, so we've done that. Everything's shut. We're going to come to our PSU unit here. We'll just talk through this very quickly. The on-off button for the 12 volt side of stuff is here. The system shutdown button, so you want to make sure that is on. Okay. Also, all of our blade fuses are just here if you need to change the fuse for anything. On the back of this door here, it does tell you what they all do. Okay. So this side of it here is the 12 volt side, so you need to have that on to run anything in the van. This side here is for our 240 volt if we're plugged into mains, all right? So if you are plugged into mains and you want to use your heating and hot water and your battery charger to be running, you need to make sure that these buttons are illuminated, okay? Otherwise, they just won't work. Underneath here are our trip switches, okay? Very similar to home. Obviously, we've got 240 volt at home as well. So if you need to reset any of these, this is where you come to. It does tell you which one does which on that same sticker as the fuses. This one here is our main RCD, okay? So if you're struggling to get power into the van, like your domestic plug sockets aren't working, you can't get your fridge to work on mains electric, the chances are the problem is where you're plugged into, not your van. They also have trip switches on the posts as well. So to test that, we've got a little button there with a T on it. We can press that. If I press this and this stays in the upright position, it's telling me there's no power coming to this unit. So I need to go and check where I'm plugged into, check my mains cable and all that sort of stuff. But if I press that and this does drop, that tells me I do have power coming to the unit. So I know I'm plugged in and everything's okay. All right, so just a little bit of advice there on that one. Okay, so our drain valves are shut. We've turned on our 12 volt power there, so our power panel and everything up here should start to work. So what I'm going to do is come and wake this panel up. And this is a touch screen kind of tablet. The on off button is just this one here, so hold that down and that will then bring you to this screen here. Okay, real simple stuff this. Water pump on off. Okay, so what we're going to do is we'll do that very quickly now. We'll purge the system. This here is our awning light outside. This one here does our lighting, so I can turn them on and off, as you can see. And I can also dim them as well, so I've got two different lighting circuits, so I can dim those. I've got my power here. This will tell me what my leisure battery is doing. This will tell me what my solar's doing and my vehicle battery is if I was plugged into my van. This one is my heating and my hot water. We'll come to that in a minute because it's better really to use this panel here. This is my radio. I've got settings, I can change time, dates and all that sort of stuff. And this one here is my fridge. Again, you're probably better off just using the buttons on the fridge. So we'll come into that as well. All right. But right, let's talk water. Okay, so you're going to come in here, you're going to turn on your water pump. All right, you can hear that running at the moment. And then what you're going to start to do is this boiler will be full of air. All right, there'll be no water in it because we've just arrived on site. So we need to push all that air out and fill it up with water. So you're going to come to your tap, turn it over to the hot side. All right, and then turn the tap on. You see, I've got a steady flow of water here, but what you'll get is a load of gargling, spitting, as it pushes all that air out of the system. So it'll gurgle, spit and everything all over the place until you've got a steady flow of water like that. Now that can take a bit of time. It's quite a big boiler, so we've got to get all that full of water, then it's got to arrive to your tap. All right, so leave it to do its gurgling, coughing and spluttering. Then once it's a steady flow, we can lock the tap off. We're then going to turn it around to the cold side, do the same. All right, this will be much quicker because we're not filling a boiler up that's coming straight from our aqua roll. All right, so that will be quicker. But then once we're all steady, we're happy there. We'll then do that in our bathroom as well. Do that to the shower, do that to the sink. Get all the air out of the system. Even if you're not going to be using the shower, still purge all the air out of the system. You'll find the system will work much better for that. Once we've done that, we obviously want to start heating that water up in the boiler. So we're going to come over to our Truma panel just here, and we're going to wake this panel up by pressing the button here until we've got to our standby screen. All right. Now I'm going to wake this screen up, and we'll just go through it very quickly. Let's make sure we get a nice picture of that. There we go. Right. So at the moment, you can see that we've got a picture of a flashing thermometer. That is my internal temperature. So I press select and I can just turn my temperature all the way up to 30 or all the way to off, as I would probably have it in the summer, but depending on what we want to do. I've got it on 21. Lovely temperature in here at the moment. I'm then going to go across to my hot water, which is this selecting here, press OK, and I can either have my hot water off on eco, which will heat it to about 40 degrees I think it is, or over to hot, that will heat it up to 60 degrees. All right, and press OK. I'm then going to choose the power that I want to be using. Okay, so depending on what I'm using, so if I'm plugged into mains at the minute, so I can use mains electric to run my panel, to run my boiler, sorry. So if I press OK, you can see I'm running 1 kilowatt of electric at the minute. I can also run 2 kilowatts if I wish as well. So depending on what power I've got access to on what I'm using in the van is how much power I will use. So for instance, if I'm on site, I've got my electric on electric 2. I've got my fridge on. I've got my hairdryer going. I'm trying to use my kettle. I might keep tripping out my trip switches here. That means I'm trying to draw too much current. So I might come to here and say, right, I'm using too much electricity. I'm going to come down, drop it to electric 1. That way I'll be able to use more things in the van. If I'm not plugged into mains and I've turned my gas bottle on and I've got enough gas in there, I can run my boiler, which will do my electric and my hot water, heating, sorry, on gas. So just press OK. That will then light the boiler on gas, and I'm not using any 240 volt at all. That's if I'm off grid. If I'm getting somewhere and it's freezing cold, there's ice on the ground, and I want to heat things up really quickly, I can use a combination of the two. So I can have it on mix 1 kilowatt of electric and gas, mix 2 kilowatts of electric and gas. All right, so depending on what I want to do. I then got my fan speed, because it's a blown air heating system. I can have it on high or on eco, depending on how fast I want the air travelling around the van. Obviously, the higher the fan speed, the slightly noisier it is. So you'll come to learn what you want to do. You might have it on eco at night or whatever. But you can see we've got these blowing nice warm air coming out of that. These all over the van. So I can shut these off, or I can change the direction of the airflow. So just have a little play around with those. Okay. That is all that kind of stuff. So quite simply, all right, temperature in the van, hot water on, off, or on eco, what power am I using, and my fan speed. Really simple. Okay. Right, going around the rest of the van, we'll just open everything up, make sure we know what everything is. This is to do with our radio. Okay, so I can put an aux plug into the side of that to run my stereo, so I can run music from my phone. Right, if I go into the radio here, I can turn from mode up the top there. I can have FM. There we are, it's running now, and I can change my stations. I can have it on DAB. I can have it on aux, which is that plug in here. Okay. So there's lots of different options I can do. I'm just going to turn this off for the minute. Okay. TV sockets here. Okay, and another power socket there as well. So this is where I can put my TV for when I'm sitting down watching bits and pieces. Individual switches for our lights just underneath here. Okay, that's just a cupboard. Just a cupboard. Again, more storage in there. Our windows all open in the same way. They're what we call click-clack windows. So I'll just quickly show you how they work. We've got our locking things here, and then what we're listening for is a click. All right, so we're going to open the window very slowly. When we hear a click, we're going to drop the window back onto that click, if that makes sense. So there we go. All right, so you just got to be quite gentle and delicate with them. All right. We can also lock these on a breather mode as well, so they're locked but still slightly open, a bit like at home. So if you want to sort of get a bit of airflow around the van but still keep a bit of security, you can do. Blinds and fly screen. So if the window opens, you'll have a fly screen, and all the windows will have blinds, so we can black it out in here. Okay, a bit like this one doesn't open but still has a blind. Okay. Coming around the front, 240 volt power socket when we're plugged into mains there. We've also got some 12 volt USB sockets, and also our coffee table here. You'll find all your books are going to be in here, all right? So that's where you'll find all your user manuals and everything. Okay, everything there really. We know how our bed works. The slats pull out from here all the way along, which brings our slats over. We always sleep on the upside down side of these, so the brown side, okay? And what I would suggest is, if you have a look down the side, you can see we've got a bit of a bolster here, okay? So you don't want that in the middle. So flip these over so it's upside down, but these bolsters are by the window, and do the same either side. That way you've got a nice flat surface all the way along. All right. We've got a skylight here. Again, blinds and fly screens. The way these open is with this button just here, so we can pull that down and open or lock it into different positions or whatever we want to do. Coming to our kitchen, another couple of sockets up here, and we can run cables down through there. Our light switches are just in here for all sorts of different bits and pieces. Okay, microwave in here, 240-volt microwave, so it can only be used when you're plugged into mains. I'm not going to teach you to use a microwave. The only thing I will say is this plate. Don't travel with the plate in here. Okay, the amount of times we see them smash on the floor, dented units, dented floors where they've come flying out while travelling. So we'll put that in your book pack, which will be in the top drawer over there. Okay, but don't travel with it in there. There is the plug socket for our microwave. Okay, and this here is for our solar panel. Okay, so that's the regulator for it, the charge controller, if you will. Don't need to do anything with it, but just so you know what it is, really. We've already talked about our sink. When we've got this on 60 degrees, that hot water is very hot, so do bear that in mind. All right, of course we can mix that, because like I say, I can hardly touch that. We can mix it with cold water, of course, as well. Just bearing in mind with hot water, when it comes to showers, you've only got that amount of hot water. Okay, so just bear that in mind. There's no such thing as long showers in a caravan. Otherwise you get a bit of a shock when the cold water kicks back in. So just bear it in mind that a caravan shower needs to be a quick affair. Right, again, when travelling, cooker top needs to be down. Again, we see these broken all the time. 3 gas burner hob. Again, making sure that we've got enough gas in our gas bowl and it's switched on in the locker. But I won't teach you how to use a hob, but it's very simple. Hold down and click, and there's our igniter just over this side. The oven and everything lights in the same way. We've got a separate grill, but the oven, hold down, and there it lights. Okay, so we just set our temperature and we're cooking. But this is a caravan oven, it's not a domestic oven, so things may take slightly longer to cook than you would expect. In here we should have, some gas isolation switches. Alright, so if you need to isolate any of the gas, that's where we come to. Our draining board is just here. Alright. Right, fridge. Dometic 3-way fridge. This is quite a simple one to use, really, because you've got the auto setting, which is just here. You can see we've got it written up auto here. So on-off button is that one. Okay. Select auto is the best thing to do, and then it will choose its preferred power source. Really simple. Okay. So the power sources we've got is mains power. You can see it's chosen that because we're plugged into mains. However, if I wasn't, I can run it on gas and it would light itself on gas, and then when I plug it into the car, it will then run it on the battery setting, which isn't a leisure battery. It is a 12-volt power from your car when you are towing. Okay, bear in mind though that that's not that powerful, so if you want to keep stuff in the fridge when you're traveling, chill it down first, then plug it into the car. That way you'll keep your stuff nice and cold. But to change the settings, really simple. So if I wanted to light it on gas now, I would press this arrow button and I would go to gas. There we go. All right, and that will then light it on gas, or I can just go back to my mains electric, but I'm going to leave it on auto and then it lights it on what it wants to do. I can change the temperature with this one here, and really is as simple as that. Freezer section at the top, main fridge down the bottom. That's nice and cold. We've had that on overnight, so we know that's all doing everything that it should do. There's also a breather setting on this fridge as well, so we can put the prongs out here so that if we're leaving it for any period of time, we can leave some air in the fridge. All right, there we go. Okay, bathroom next then. There's our sink. Again, tap works in there. We've got our shower over this side, which has got a light switch in it as well. Okay, which is a touch sensitive one. We can just have a little blue light in there if you want. This holds back on a little holder here. Make sure that's held back when travelling. Again, we don't want to damage anything. Our freestanding table is just in here for our dinner table or outside or whatever you want to do. Toilet is the main thing we want to talk about, really, isn't it? So our flush tank is in the top just here. So that's where our water is being held. The toilet is used in exactly the normal way that you would use a normal toilet, and then we just press the flush button when we want to flush it. That will then fire some coloured liquid, depending on what colour we put into the bowl. We then want to open the gate at the bottom so everything drops into the cassette, and that is done from here all the way over. That opens that, everything drops into it, push this back over again, and then that creates the seal again. All right, so we want to make sure this is all the way over. Very important. You can see our little heater valve there. Make sure it's open all the way over. If you try and remove your toilet cassette and you can't get it out, it's because this isn't all the way shut. It won't let you do it, so don't try and force it. So that's very important. Obviously, we want to keep all the smells in there anyway. That's our flush button. This illuminates here when it's time to empty the cassette. Right. In our cupboard, you will find our TV aerial. Nice bit of hanging space in here. Directional TV aerial just here. When we want to use the TV, what we're going to do is we're going to undo the locking nut at the top, which is this one here, and then we push the aerial up above the roof and then lock that nut back in again. We can then use the little handle here. That will change the plane of the aerial to try and get the best signal. That then goes through to our digital amplifier here, so we turn that on from the top, and then we have a little gain switch. I'll just leave that on maximum. You can just leave that on as well if you wish. Okay, that is the very basics of how it all works. Okay, I hope that's made sense. What we'll do now is, let's say we've been on holiday, we've had a lovely time, and let's shut the van down. First thing I'm going to do is turn my fridge off, because I know I'm not going to be using that. So turn it off. There we go. I'm then going to come and start switching everything off in the van. So what we'll start doing is draining everything down first. I'm going to come and turn my water pump off, only because otherwise we'll lose a bit of light. So turn my water pump off. I'm then going to turn my Truma panel off. It's best to turn your Truma panel off before you turn off this panel. It just stops you getting any error codes or anything like that. So turn this off, then we can turn that off. We're then going to come open our boiler drain valve. There we go. We can hear that water draining down. We're then going to come and open our taps. And what we're going to do, leave those in between hot and cold. That way we've got air travelling between both the hot leg and the cold leg of the system. And if you can get in the habit of doing this every time you leave your van, again, in between hot and cold, all the taps. That way, if we do get a surprise frost or anything like that, water obviously expands when it freezes, and we end up with cracked taps, we end up with broken pipes, all sorts of stuff. So that way it's got somewhere to go. So if you can leave it fully drained down, boiler drain open, and all the taps open, get rid of everything out of the toilet as well, we are good to go. All right, so that should just be a good habit to get into. I'm now going to turn this off from here, which will put us into darkness. Hold that down. There we go. You can see that has now got rid of everything in there. I'm then going to turn off my system shutdown just here. Okay, these will go off when I unplug our mains from outside. That then leads us to tidy up outside a little bit. What we would do is we're going to turn off our gas bottle, make sure it's strapped in, ready for the road. Obviously I'll remove this gas bottle because this is our test one. I will then remove my pickup for my water, give that a wiggle. Don't be too rough with it, as I say. And then I'm going to put this in the front locker so we know where that is. Some people keep this in the sink because what we want to do is keep these seals here intact. That's very important. All right, so in the sink's quite a good place to keep them. Then you would then empty your toilet and all that kind of stuff. And I'm now going to remove my mains lead. My colleague has already removed it from the wall. What you want to try and avoid doing is walking around with a live cable. All right, so unplug it from the post first, then unplug it from your van, and vice versa when we are plugging it in. We would then remove our waste master. We forgot to mention that. So here is where our waste master will sit, and this is where our wastewater comes out from. So the grey hose in the front locker comes out of here, one from the bathroom and one from the kitchen, and that's where all of our grey water comes from. So we'll empty that, stow away our waste master, stow away our aqua roll. Some people keep them in the shower, like in a bag or wrapped up in a towel or something like that. Okay, legs up and hitch up, and away we go. So that's kind of it, really. I hope that's made sense. And of course we're here to help if you need anything at all, and it should be backed up in the manuals anyway. But enjoy your Vogue, and yeah, we look forward to seeing you at collection. Many thanks.